I don't know if there's one thing. I think it's the deepest team we've had since I've been here. There's obviously we've added some versatility, playmaking. We have good size. Um, there's a lot to like about the roster, and certainly having the carryover of Dame and CJ, it starts with that. But the guys that we brought in, I think, really fit with how we want to play at both ends. So there's a lot to like. We had a really good year last year. I think we have a chance to be a better team this year. Not really. I mean, It's a good thing. To be honest, I wish they had made it 40 minutes instead of 30 minutes because we're all in our meetings at 30 minutes. But it's good. Hopefully, it'd be nice to have the starting lineups before you start your meeting. So I'm glad everybody's doing the same thing. And then I don't have to listen to Kerry. I still have to listen to Kerry. Um, I think we'll try different things. I don't think that we're gonna make wholesale changes. But to your point about David Vanderpool was in charge of the defense last year. Nate Tibbetts and Dale Osborne will be more focused on the defense. Jim Moran, who moved to the front of the bench this year, will take Nate's spot as far as focusing on the offense. But um, I don't see big changes fundamentally, but I do think over the course of season we'll maybe experiment from time to time. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it depends on who's out on the floor, but when you have uh, like guys like Hassan and Zach and Nurk who are do a great job protecting the paint, I think it's just prudent to keep them in the paint. Let's not say, you know, we brought them up against Golden State in games 2 through 4. It's easier to make changes like that in a playoff series than during the regular season. That's the goal. I mean, we're 16th last year. The year before we were 8th. I think part of that comes with just the consistency. But my goal always going into a season, if you want to be a good team, you want to be in the top 10 in both offense and defense, and that's a goal this year. So if we are, we'll be a better defensive team. That's what we hope to be. I think I'll play around with it in the preseason. I think uh, during the regular season, since you only are allowed one challenge per game, whether you get it right or not, I don't know how much you're going to see any challenges in the first half, risking a timeout or uh, you've got a lot of game left to make up for a missed call. So I think it'll be interesting how different coaches use it, but I think the league did a really good job of bringing it in slowly. It's very limited in what you can actually challenge. So I think I've never been a big proponent of having the challenge, but since it's here, I'll enjoy watching how it gets used. Oh, I think it's interesting. I don't see it happening in the NBA, but for we do that in scrimmages. In September, just in the interest of time, having one free throw count for two or count for three. I think it's interesting. I don't know that it's something that we'll end up doing in the NBA, but that's what the G League for is to try out different things. I don't know about a spark, but it's interesting. We've had such continuity over the last 3 years of guys returning, and I go back to 2015 when we had the big turnover of players, and we're at about the same point when you take Nurk's minutes out. We're about the same place as far as returning minutes. So for me, it's kind of exciting to see how the pieces fit. It's going to be a work in progress, and it'll take time to find out what works well. But I think it's a lot different situation than we've been in the past, and so it can be a good thing or it can be maybe frustrating too. So what was the first part of the question? Yeah, you have to. You can't assume anything. I remember going to the year I was out of coaching in '07, and I went to San Antonio's training camp, and they had just won the championship, and they had, I think, everybody coming back from the championship team, and they were doing stuff in training camp. Pop didn't even have to say anything. They were doing stuff first day of camp that some teams weren't even doing by January. Um, so in that context, we've kind of been like that the last few years because our playbook didn't really change. We had the continuity. So for us, it's about how we put things in, what we put in, when we put it in. It's doing it piecemeal, not taking as much for granted that we've got a good experience. We've added experienced players, so I think the learning curve will be quicker. But I think it's incumbent on us to understand that it's a little bit more of a process. Um, well, off the court, I don't spend a lot of time with them. So, yeah, no, he's very comfortable. I wouldn't say he was timid. He was easy to have a conversation, but I think he's very comfortable being around teammates or coaches. He has a good sense of humor, all that. I don't think he's changed. I think he's just a little bit more comfortable. As far as on the court, probably the same thing. As Neil said, he's gotten stronger, he's gotten bigger, he's matured. He's still a young man, but I think he is just the comfort level, especially in a year that he did not play. Going into the next year, that comfort level. Sometimes when you play your first year and you have expectations, and maybe it's I think it's harder to make that big jump when you've actually played your first year. But just watching him play, all the things that a young guy grows in, and you just see it, the way he carries himself. I wouldn't say his game has improved that much, incrementally, but he shoots it, he handles, he's strong, he's playing with confidence, all those things. I wouldn't classify him as either one. I think he has the ability to play alongside Dame. He has the ability to play alongside CJ, and then if Dame and CJ are out of the game, depending, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't want to put him in a position where he's the only ball handler on the floor, and you got Patrick Beverly picking up 94 feet. But in those situations, I think we've added other playmakers so that he's a good playmaker. He's a smart player. He can run the offense. He knows all the plays from various positions. So I think just he has the ability to play along all different kind of guys. Well, as you bring it up, last year we opened up the season with the Lakers, and Nick Stotts scored 24, and Dame and CJ were on the bench, and that's the way we're going to roll, and that didn't last very long. So, so to answer your question, I'm open to seeing. I like the idea of the bench having having an identity. I think you'll see us start that way and see it evolve, but. Because of because the multiple playmakers that we have, whether it's Anthony or Kent or Mario, a lot of Pau Gasol as a passing playmaking center. I want to give them an opportunity to do that, and we'll see how it goes. I'm not one to change lineups very often on a whim or based on matchups. If things are going well, I usually stick with the same lineup and not necessarily give in to changing it just because of a matchup certain night. I like the continuity of keeping a starting lineup, and if it's not going well, then look to change.
Terry, you guys kind of quietly finished third in offensive rating last year. Given the new personnel and offense dynamic that makes it happen, what areas of improvement would you say offensively that you think you can improve on that third place standing?
Um, well, quietly, one of our strengths was something that we didn't really work on, or you know, but we did rely on was offensive rebounding. And I think that's. I would like to be more efficient. I'd like our. I think we've added some more shooting. I'd like to get more threes up. I'd like to keep up with that. I think we're still going to be a good offensive rebounding team. We've been a really good pick and roll team. That's not going to change. Um, I, Part of my job and our job is to put guys in positions where they can succeed, and that's going to be part of the job of this season, is seeing how Kent and Rodney, who will be here now for a full year, and Mario and Anthony Tolliver, how we put those guys in positions to be successful. And it's going to be a work in progress. Statistically, like you said, we're third or fourth in offense. At times it didn't seem like it, but we managed to find ways to score. And as a coach, like I said, I want to be in the top 10 in both, and our job is to put guys in positions where they can be successful, especially offensively.
Terry, you've always been
Right. More what? Um, it's I'll have some difficult decisions on various nights because of our depth and because we have size, and what the opponent's doing and how the game's going. So as far as going 9 or 10, it is easier for me, and I think for the guys to have a 9-man rotation. But there are going to be nights where it'll be more than that, and that's going to be when you have a 10-man roster. I mean, a 10-man rotation, then somebody gets squeezed a little bit. And that's tough. No, no. Hopefully, hopefully a lot. I don't know. I mean, he's extremely skilled. Physically, he looks good. He's come back from the injury well. I think he's very motivated to play. I don't think he's given in to anything. And last year was a tough year for him. So in this day and age, as you said, I've said before, I never put a ceiling or limits on guys. Vince Carter's still playing. So, anybody. If the body holds up and the mind is willing to go through it, then I think a lot is possible. So I wouldn't venture a guess at how much he has left, but I think he's going to be an effective player for us this year. He's fine. Yeah. I think it's great. I mean, I love what the franchise is doing with I love the logo, the history that the franchise has. It's everybody knows I'm a big NBA history buff, but I think to be a part of the 50th anniversary is pretty special.
Anthony was kind of he's never had like a true like stretch four since like kind of better maybe.
We're going back to Luke.
I don't know.
Okay.
How excited are you to have him better and that really kind of that true stretch four position?
I really like Anthony. I first saw Anthony again the year I was coaching. I was working with the D League then, and he was playing for the Iowa Energy, and I thought he had a chance to be a good stretch four in this league, and he's proven that. I think he can impact a game. I think because of his ability to shoot, he's a intelligent defender. He can really help us in that position, especially different matchups. But you put him on the floor with Damon CJ, with Hassan or Nurk rolling to the rim, it really keeps the defense honest. And he's been in the league a long time. he knows his role. He knows how to be effective in the league. Yeah. What makes a good duo? Um, you know, are you just talking guards or just duos in general? Basically, if they're really good players, if you got two really good players, that makes a good duo. Oh yeah, I think as Neil said, I think they're the best backcourt in the league, and their challenge is to maintain their level of play while making the team a championship caliber team. And I think duos generally they're great duos when the team has success. I think ultimately duos are defined by team success as much as it is by their individual numbers. Um, Consistency. He had a better year last year than he did the year before. But again, as I mentioned, when you play, like, he kind of played more than people thought he would as a rookie and expected a big jump his second year. And the reality is it's going to be gradual improvement. He's going to gradually improve as a shooter from three-point range, from post-ups, finishing around the basket. We all know he already has excellent defensive instincts, but as an offensive player, finding his opportunities and being more consistent with it. Just like every young player coming in, is work and get better. And as Neil mentioned, we've got a really good track record of young guys coming in getting better, and whether they play or don't play the first year. I mean, you look at guys like Alan Crabb and Will Barton and even CJ. They didn't play a lot, but they grew as players. They learned the league, became pros, and so I expect the same thing from Nasir. He's a hard worker. He's a smart kid. He's going to have a long career, but his job is just like a lot of rookies, especially late first-round picks, is to come in, learn how to be a pro, learn how to work, and be ready when opportunities come. Hopefully, especially in transition and in the random, half our game is in flow or random basketball, and since we do have more probably ball handlers than we've had in the past, I think you'll see that. But as far as our offensive sets, I don't know how much we'll gear our half court sets towards that. I think you'll see it from time to time, but look, they're both great with the ball in their hands, and they're both better with the ball in their hands than moving off the ball. I'd like to get them better shots, better quality shots when they are off the ball. And a lot of that happens, again, in random basketball rather than sets. We're open to it. I guess it depends on what your definition of load management is. I'm very taking games off. Is that what you mean? If we have not had a discussion about taking games off, and if it gets to that point, we'll talk about it. But we have not had discussions about that. And Neil said it, but it depends on what your definition of tapering minutes. I mean, Dame plays 35 minutes a game, and a player of his all-pro player to play 35 minutes a game is not unreasonable. So, and I don't think any of those guys, if they're going to play, they're not going to play 25 minutes. They're going to play. So it gets back, when you talk about load management, I think a lot of load management in my mind is what you do on the off days rather than missing games. If you take care of your business on non-game days, and we've made that a priority, we've had excellent health since I've been here. So I think we approach load management in a different way rather than taking games off. All right, thanks.